Guardrails gives you policy and quality checks without writing a wrapper service. There are two types of guardrails, input guardrails. Another one is output guardrail. Now, if a guardrail trips, you can return a friendly error or a route to a human. So that is the behavior you can define when you are defining your guardrail. Now here in our use case, we are defining one input guardrail and output guardrail. But let's try to understand the structure. Now here, this, so here we are defining again pydantic class. It's a summary. This is where we're trying to fix the structure of the agent response. And then even before that, let us see, to implement this input and the output guardrail, you need to import this input guardrail and the output guardrail, then the guardrail function output from the agents. Okay, now this function runs before the model sees the user's message. Okay, so whenever the model sees the user message, because this input guardrail is configured in the agent. Now, if you come to the agent code here, you see the input guardrails and the output guardrails are configured. So how it works is that when agent sends the requests to the model, and then the model finds that this input guardrail and the output guardrail is configured, then the model will first execute this input guardrail, which is the block sensitive. Now, when it executes this block sensitive, it will check if the user input is having any keyword like password, credit card, and SSN, something like that. Now, if that happens in the input, then here we have defined that tripwire triggered as trip. Now, tripwire triggered as trip means block this turn. So when a tripwire is triggered, the SDK flags the turn. Now, typical app policies are refuse with a safe message or ask the user to rephrase or route to a human. So those are the three possible scenarios. The point is we stopped the model before it could produce unsafe output. That is the main objective. Now, output guardrail, it validates the model's structured answer. Okay, so this runs after the model, but before you accept the final answer. So when the model response is generated, model runs this output guardrail, and then if this output guardrail here in this output guardrail, if the output is summary, the SDK parses the model output into a summary object. And then we enforce a simple requirement like at least 2 key points. So here, in the tripwise triggered, it is the condition is mentioned, right? The condition is like if the key points are less than 2, then this becomes a trigger point to highlight or call this output guardrail, because the expectation was that at least 2 bullet points to be there in the output. That was the requirement. And if that requirement is not met, then the SDK should stop the output generation for the user or for the agent. Now let us run this. So here you see in the input, we are saying how to reset a password. Now, so now you see the input guardrail was called, and it says that the input guardrail triggered tripwise. And that happened because the input was having a keyword password, and this keyword was configured as part of the input guardrail. So this is how you implement input and the output guardrail inside your agent.
This video is part of my course Mastering AI Agent using OpenAI Agent SDK, the course which I have published on Udemy. The link of that course is available in the description. So if you are interested, please follow the link and get your certification done.